Oh. Dr. Kirby Taylor, welcome to Freezin for a Reason.
Hey, honored to be here, Steven. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, man. Why don't you give the audience a little understanding of who you are, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, so my name's Kirby Taylor. I'm a physician. I'm also a lover of all things fitness, longevity, lifespan, health span, biohacking, and performance. I'm a frequent plunger. Honored to be here. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Great. Well, why don't you help us understand a little bit of perspective? Because knowing you, I do know that you're passionate about health span, lifespan, those types of things, biohacking. We've talked about that. Maybe start with, what is the difference between health span and lifespan? How would you describe that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it's beat home by tons of great resources out there, but modern medicine is amazing actually at keeping people alive. Nowadays, we can prolong your lifespan, but lifespan and health span, they start to divert at a certain point. And health span is about living well, having great function of cognitively, physiologically with your body, feeling well, to pursue the things that you're passionate about, that you enjoy. Lifespan is just simply how many years you're on this earth. And unfortunately, in medicine, you'll find that the last 10 to 15 years of life cannot have a good health span. People are suffering. And so the goal for people who are into longevity and biohacking and performance is really making your health span almost equate to your lifespan. So every year on this earth, you're living your best, most healthy life where you're cognitively functioning well, where you're seizing the day, where your joints aren't aching, where you're able to do the things that you want to do. And so I'm really into things that will help one achieve those goals.
Perfect. Beautiful. And I know that, knowing you well, you believe in high performance across different areas of your life, in your relationships, in your church community, at work as a physician, in the gym, and so forth. What are some of the ways that you kind of keep your body and mind in tune, and from a fitness perspective, perhaps, to be a high performer like you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, there's pillars of health span and lifespan, but are pillars of health to say. You have your sleep performance. Now, obviously, sleep is a huge thing. I think we're far past the age in which you'll sleep when you're dead mentality, as you often hear in high-performing jobs. Sleep is really important. I myself try to get 7 or 8 hours, and then really optimizing your day to prepare you for sleep. So the things you do throughout the day. So sleep, obviously, is huge to your recovery. As far as fitness, I think as I've gotten older, the shift of just trying to go into the gym and lift as heavy weights as possible, which has built a great metabolic base of muscle mass for me, but has shifted a little bit. Now it's about getting both aerobic and anaerobic training, weight-bearing exercise, making sure you're hitting plenty of zone 2, which is just a zone in which you're keeping your heart rate at a certain beats per minute. And this is really optimizing your body for proper and metabolic health. It's allowing you to utilize the resources in your cells that you want it to utilize, opposed to maybe just burning glycogen or glucose. It also helps lipolysis as well, where you're burning fat and you're using glucose stores properly.
Beautiful. So when working out as actively as you do, what does recovery look like? What are some of the tools that you use to recover properly? Sleep probably being one of those. What else?
Yeah. So sleep, hammered on it. Believe it or not, your nutrition is actually a big source of your recovery. If your body is constantly inflamed by antigens you can't process, then you'll be in a chronically inflamed state. And I think it's hard to maximize your recovery when you're putting foods into your body that inflame it. And processed sugars, refined sugars, carbohydrates aren't bad, but there are certain types of antigens that come along with certain carbohydrates that can inflame the body. So making sure you're getting your proper fuel source. Sticking to like 0.8 to 1 grams of protein per pound body weight, making sure that your carbohydrates that you're processing are lowly antigenic. So that's 1. 2 would be things like cold plunging. Cold plunging, I don't have to harp on the benefits of cold plunging. There are a ton that you can look up and read. We know that you have sustained dopamine increase throughout the day. It's not just a quick spike up and spike down. We know that it helps with deep sleep if you do it 2 to 3 hours before bed.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
Looking at the data, if with my Oura Ring, I get more deep sleep on the nights where I do a proper cold plunge.
Absolutely. We do know that it is anti-inflammatory as well. Like cold shock proteins will help with inflammation of joints and things like that from hard workouts. But I personally think the best thing about cold plunging is the mental component. Doing something difficult every day and proving to yourself that you can do it is something that I think society is lacking nowadays. There's nothing like walking up to the cold plunge, sitting there, fighting your inner demons, knowing you don't want to do this and getting in anyway, and proving to yourself, hey, I did a hard thing today. Hard things are good. We grow from hard things. I think that's a great reason that I love cold plunging.
Yeah, I'm on with you 100%. The mental component is one of the most exciting parts about cold plunge. And I also love helping people that are first-time cold plungers understand that, because I think it really helps them overcome that first barrier of just getting in the tub. You know, I feel like there's 3 barriers when people get into a cold plunge the first time. First one is just the decision, the mental decision to do it. Second is getting in at least up to your knees, just standing in it. And the third is getting all the way in up to the neck. And then I really think there's maybe even a 4th barrier where once you want to get out, you get that really uncomfortable feeling, you start the shiver and you want to get out, stay another minute, and it's breaking through that mental barrier. Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you. I think that translates into other parts of life as well.
Definitely. I think Andrew Huberman puts this so nicely. Passing 4 different bars, because everyone asks, how long do I need to be in a cold plunge? What's the optimal time? But I think for me, it's about, I want to vanquish 4 bars today. And a bar is a time where you're like, don't want to do this. Your body's telling you to get out, or your body's telling you to run in the opposite direction. So for me, it's always 1 bar, just getting in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
2 is completely submerging. As your body gets in, it begins to freak out. Your fight or flight, your sympathetic nervous system's activated. It says, please get me out of this cold environment. There's a 2nd bar. And then depending on the day, you know, I might go 2 minutes and I haven't hit a 3rd bar. I might go 1 minute and I hit that 3rd bar where I'm like, I want to get out. And so it's really for me about trying to raise above 4 bars. And then that's when I feel like I've been in there long enough.
Well, I can tell we're both starting to get a little shiver on here, and it's almost time to get out. But beforehand, I got to ask you about the story that I heard about from our mutual friend of you staying in a very cold plunge a little too long and getting a little mild hypothermia. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Yeah. So don't recommend this at home. Have a friend. He puts salt in his cold plunge so it can get below freezing. So it hangs out around 30 degrees. You get to break up the ice with a chisel when you're getting in there. So it's already a mental game. There's a bar before you even step in the cold plunge, you're breaking up ice. I was in the cold plunge for 9 minutes and like 37 seconds. Around minute 9, you start to feel complete warmth, which is the beginning phases of hypothermia. As a physician, I'm like, I think it's time to get out, because now it's not hurting at all. And now it feels actually blissful. Something's telling me that this isn't right. So I got out and could not warm up. I mean, I was like shivering, convulsing, ended up having to do tons of different maneuvers and exercises just to even get my heart rate up to try to warm my system up. And then it ended up having to pretty much just like lay in the fetal position with a bunch of warm blankets around me. Took me about 45 minutes to come back to normal state.
I love that. That's great. Well, on that note, dude, it's probably time to get out so we don't hit that level.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot for joining me. Freezin for a reason.
Yeah. Proud to be here. Honored to be your friend. And man, love this fjord plunge. Like that we get to be in here together.
It's fun.
Communal aspect to this.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks, David.
Take care.